Hi there guys, this is the very first video I've ever done for YouTube or anything like that. This is basically a Red Sea Reefer 170. I had a few friends saying to me, oh come on John, you need to do a video. You keep watching everybody else's. This tank's about 10 months old now, so even the missus actually said to me, go on, you keep watching everybody else's videos, why don't you just do one of your own and see if you can help people. So I said, you know what, sorry, I'll do one, let's see how it goes, and let's see the response we get. So as I said, this is a Red Sea Reefer 170. Before I got the tank, I probably did the best part of about 12 months research into the tanks, into marine fish keeping, into the different kind of brands of tanks you can get, everything really for 12 months. And whenever we went to garden centre and stuff, I'd always pop into the aquatics places just to have a potter around and ask the guys some questions. But after doing a bit of research and actually having a look at the different types of tanks, I decided to go with a Red Sea, mainly just because I'm so impressed with the build quality compared to other brands. They're awesome, to be honest. I looked at an Aqua One that they'd also got in the store, and it just wasn't a patch on this. Originally I was going to go with the Red Sea Reefer 250, but I popped into the aquatics place one day and they'd got this tank in there. It'd been in there a while. It was a display model. It'd never been wet, but it was a display model, and I think it was up for like something like 750 quid, something like that, and it'd been in there for ages. It'd been in there that long, there was cobwebs all in the thing. And but they'd actually dropped it to 350 quid, so I thought, right, now's the time to do it. 350 quid's an absolute bargain for one of these, so we did it. So I paid for it, went back the next day, picked it all up, got it back. That was May last year, and it sat dry for a good month or two, just while we had a chat with the guy at the aquatics place, and he put us together a really decent deal whereby we got everything from him in one go, so we could just set the tank up and keep it running for 12 months. And what I thought at the time was I wouldn't have to spend anything, but actually after having the tank for nearly 12 months, that's obviously ridiculous. You're obviously always going to have to spend stuff, even though I bought everything at the start. So yeah, so he did us a really good deal, to be fair to him. Knocked us some money off because we were getting everything in one go from him. We'd obviously already got the tank from him. And I said to him, look, I want to ideally go with live rock for this system, but I want the stuff that's already purpled up, already corallined up. Can you get it in? He said, well, I'll see what I can do anyway next year. But within a month, I think he'd got the rock, he'd got all the kit, he'd got everything. So I'm sure we set this tank up the end of June last year. So it is actually coming up to 12 months old now. So let's go in and let's show you what we've got. So as we spoke about, there's the live rock, and I went with 19 kilos of live rock for this system. I've done a fair bit of research, just a fair few read-ups and things, and a lot of places were saying to put 1 kilo in for every 10 litres of water that you've got. So I followed that, ended up going with 19 in the end, just because the way it fell, just the way it weighed up and it fell. And that is the scape that I decided to put together. I wanted to put together plenty of caves for the fish to hide, plenty of swim throughs to give them something to do, but also plenty of places for me to place coral, because ideally I really wanted a live reef tank. I didn't want to just keep fish, I wanted to keep a proper reef and keep on top of it. So that's what we did. On top of that, we also got 2 bags of the Red Sea Live Reef Base Ocean White. Now that's 20 kilos in total, and in all honesty that was too much. Realistically I could have done with about 15 kilos, but over the course of the last year with doing the sand vac and the cleaning and stuff, not a lot, some of it's come out, so it's about where I'd like it at the moment, and it's going well. The reason I also went with live rock and the live sand is just to try and help kickstart the cycle a bit more, and to be fair, that did work. I used the Red Sea mature kit to cycle this tank, and I think they say it normally takes around 30 days to cycle the tank. This tank actually cycled about a week early. I still followed the booklet and stuff, still followed it, so I still put the clean-up crew when I had to, so I still put the fish in when it told me to, but it had actually cycled early. The first two fish I actually went with was, if you can just about see them, they don't like the camera, to be honest. There they are. There. So it's a red Fiji clownfish. I went with a pair of them. That's the male one. The female one is hiding behind her anemone right there, and she's probably double to be fair, nearly 3 times the size of him. She's a bit of a monster actually. Whenever I put my arm in the tank, she always attacks it. And to be fair, they've done really well. They've grown well over the last 10 to 11 months. Not had any issues with them. They've been really good. I was a bit worried that when the female got to the size that she got, I thought she'd start to get a bit dominant and start attacking the other fish. But in all honesty, she's been fine. The only thing she attacks is me. So I'll take that, to be fair. I'll take that. That's the next fish that I got, and that is a peacock wrasse. That's a great fish, adds loads of colour to the tank, and is constantly hunting, searching through the rocks, looking for little bits and bobs, presumes looking for pests and things to nibble on. That's another wrasse that I got there. That's the yellow chorus wrasse. I got that mainly because I wanted to put a bit of colour into the tank, but again I also did it on the basis that it did a job. And again, that takes out any pests that could be in the system. Now, I dip all my corals, to be honest. Dip everything before it goes in. But obviously, because I was using live rock, I didn't know what was in there. That's the disadvantage with the live rock. You don't know what pests you're introducing into your system. So that fish was a must really for me. I wanted colour and I wanted something to take out pests. This fish here, that's currently circling the wave maker. That's his favourite spot, that is. I don't know if it's because you can see his reflection in the glass or if he just likes circling the wave maker. But that's a male Melanaris wrasse. He's grown actually since he's gone in. He's been in about 4 or 5 months. He's a great fish. Adds loads of colour to the tank. And again, he does a job. He takes out the pests that might be in the system. To be fair, I never really see anything in this system. I've come down at night and stuff before to let the dog out. I had a quick look in the tank and I never really see anything. So that means I've either not got anything or they're doing a great job. The other fish I've got in there is, if you can just see him, is a bicolour blenny. To be fair, he doesn't really do anything, doesn't really do a job. That's his favourite spot under that hammer during the day, perching on that plate. And he just adds character to the tank really. It's like keeping... It's like he's like a little dog, to be fair to him. He behaves just like a dog. Chases the other fish off if they go near his hammer. And yeah, he's a great little addition to the tank. On top of that, you can't see them. Let's see if I can get around the side for you. I might be able to see through the back. There you go, you can just about see one there. I've got a pair of mated boxer shrimp in the tank. I got them at the start. I wanted something a little bit different, to be honest, not just your average cleaner shrimp. So I went with a mated pair of boxers. Again, they do a good job of taking out pests and things. They eat bristle worms and stuff like that. Not that I've ever seen any, but they do. The only issue you get with them, I've actually seen them grab fish. That little male red Fiji clown I've got, I've actually seen him get dragged into a cave. Albeit it was about 6 months ago now, but he got dragged into a cave and I thought, wow, that's the end of him. We've never seen him again. But thankfully he came out the other side and he's alright. Every now and again the yellow chorus wrasse, I've noticed the odd little tearing its tail. I've tried to get them out of the tank, but to be honest, they're a nightmare. They just go into the rocks. So I've left them be for now. They haven't touched the fish for a while, so I'll leave them be. I've also got, I don't know how you pronounce it, if it's a Riteri or a Riteri anemone. The main reason I got that is because the 2 clowns that I've got were starting to host this green Goniopora, and that's one of my favourite corals in the tank, if I'm honest. But it started with a female. She started hosting it and it really didn't like it, and for the first week it just kept receding into its skeleton. Really didn't like it, and I thought, oh Christ, if this keeps up, I'm gonna have to do something. I'm gonna have to get an anemone or something just to try and coax her away from that. But then, funnily enough, the coral seemed to get used to it. And next thing you know, it was extending, the clown was living in it, and it was alright, it was okay, it was doing alright. But then I came down one Saturday morning, and the male was in there too, and they'd battered it that badly that it had receded right into the skeleton. You could hardly see the polyps at all, and I thought, well, Christ, I need to do something now because that's going to die. So I literally took a drive straight up to my local fish store. I knew they'd had some anemones come in, but I took a drive up, and that's what I went with. To be honest, I was going to get a Marlou. I thought I had got a Marlou. They've got 4 Marlous and 1 Ritteroi, but after seeing this now, it looks different in my tank than it did in theirs, to be fair. But after seeing this one compared to a few friends' Marlous, it looks nothing like them. So I think it is a Ritteroi. Now, when I first put this in, I actually put it right there in the middle of the rock. Obviously, there's coral there now, but I put it right there in the middle of the rock because it was directly underneath the Hydras. That's a Hydra 26 HD, directly under that, and in good flow. So I thought, right, I'll put it there, let's see what happens. Clowns were literally in it within half an hour of it going in, so I was quite lucky there, that was great. But then slowly but surely, it just started moving off towards the right, and it ended up on the back wall in the far right corner. And it stayed there, to be honest, it stayed there. It looked awful, it was in a terrible position, but it stayed there, and I thought, well, I'll just let it settle down. It's not moving now. I'm lucky enough to work from home, so I could keep an eye on it, and it was okay. Anyway, I went out for an hour and I came back and it had decided to go upwards, and back then I'd got a wave maker on the top right corner, just sorting out a dead spot that I'd got in the bottom corner, and it had gone up and its tentacles had hit the wave maker. And to be honest, I look back and I thought that was really stupid of me. I should have just turned that wave maker off before I went out. In hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I should have done that, and it made a real mess. The water was really cloudy and hazy, and I opened up the cabinet to go into the sump, and it literally looked like somebody had thrown a bottle of fairy liquid in there. There was foam everywhere. It was a real mess, and I thought, wow. I've been lucky in the sense that I've not killed the tank, I've not wiped the tank out, but I'd safely say the anemones had it. So there I was then, bucketing all this foam out. Took me a good part of an hour, got all the foam out, got all the mess out. Put some fresh carbon in to try and absorb the toxins that were in the water to try and save the fish and the corals, and just hoped and prayed it would be alright. I was going to take it out, but I thought, well, no, it's damaged now. I may as well leave it in, and let's hope it can kind of heal itself up and come back. Anyway, luckily enough, over the course of, I'd say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it came back and it started to look really good. So at that point I thought, right, okay, I'd already moved the wave maker over to the left hand side, as you can see. Well, I'll just leave it, see what happens, let it heal up. Came down the following morning and it was literally sat right on top of that wave maker cover, the anemone cover that I've got, right on top. And thank Christ I've got that, because if it had have got where it got, the foot and all sorts of stuff would have been straight, it would have gone straight through that wave maker, and then that would have been curtains. And it was sat right on top of there, so I thought, right, okay, at least with it being on the glass, I can try and move it. So over the course of 15 minutes to 20 minutes, I managed to get it off the glass without damaging anything. And I moved it down there into that, where that cave is, just there. Back then that place in coral wasn't there, so I moved it there. So I thought, right, now it's going to move to where it wants to go. Anyway, naturally it did, and it moved all the way across here. I had to take one of those mushrooms off. The other one was attached to the rock. Couldn't do anything about that, but it survived. It was fine. And it went all the way around and into the back of that cave, never to be seen again, along with the 2 clowns with it. And I thought, well, great. There goes the anemone, there goes the clowns. There's 2 fish I'm never going to see now. They're just going to live in that cave. And I thought that was the end of it. Anyway, I came down the following morning, and it was wrapped around that food defroster. Completely wrapped around that, and I thought, well, Christ, can't stay there. So I did a bit more reading up on these anemones, and I saw a few places saying that the Ritteroi anemone didn't like rough rock. Now I don't know how true that is, but a few people had said it. And if you can look at my rock, it's really jagged, and apparently they like smooth rock. So I thought, well, okay, it's tried its hardest to stay on the glass and the back wall because it's smooth. I'm going to get it off that defroster, and I'm going to attempt to put it at the top, because it seems to like the light, at the top, but onto the back glass. And you know what? That actually worked. It stayed there. If anything, it's flourished. Tentacles are always out. Clowns clowns love it. Clowns actually feed the thing. I've seen the clowns take food into it. Yeah, that's been doing really, really well. Really happy with that now. I hated the thing for the best part of 5 or 6 weeks, and I was thinking, what have I done? But yeah, it's flourished now, so that's doing great. The other corals I've got in this tank, there we go. I've got some Duncan coral there. That's done great. When I first got that, that was one of the first corals I actually got, and at the start I was only really buying frags and stuff just to see how it would fare up and see how I'd do. And so when I bought that, I think it had only got 1 head or 2 heads on it. It was tiny, but I put it in, and probably over the course of the last 7-8 months, it's just flourished. I mean, the last I counted, there was about 10 heads on the thing. To be honest, there's more now. There's loads of little ones around the back that I can't really count, that I can't see. So that's doing great. And I've put that little piece of rock there. I don't really know how it's going to spread. I know they're going to like a ball. But I've put that piece of rock there just to see if it can spread onto that. We'll see. I don't know. Well, we'll see. It's a test, isn't it? A lot of this is trial and error, so let's see. In the back there, I've got some GSP. That was about the size of a 2p piece when I put it in. And now that's huge. It's just taken over half that rock. And it's taken over the rock that quick that I've had to move the rock away from the main display. Originally that was connected to the main display, but I had to move it up so it's just touching the back wall. I'm just worried it was going to overtake the tank. Obviously we've got the green goniopora, that's a cracking coral that is, and I feed that once a week with brine shrimp. I put live phytoplankton in probably twice a week, about 4 mil of live phytoplankton twice a week. And then every day I feed the Red Sea Reef Energy A and B, and that seems to be doing great. That's a fairly new coral that I've got. That's been in about 2 weeks. That's a green plating Monty. Again, that seems to be doing really well. It's doing great. Down here we've got a candy cane. Now, to be honest, that has never done any good for me. I don't know if anybody can make any recommendations on that. The better head is on the opposite side of it, but wherever I've put that coral in the tank, it's never ever done any good. I've had it up high, I've had it in the middle, I've had it in good flow, I've had it in low flow. Doesn't matter where it goes, doesn't grow, doesn't really do anything, just stays. It looks pretty much exactly the same as the day I bought it. So if anybody's got any advice on that, that'd be great. Here we've got 2 mushrooms. When I first bought that, it was just one, and it was about the size of a 5p piece. That's probably been in the tank 5-6 months, and again that's just flourished. The corals that have gone in here really have flourished. I've been lucky really, and I noticed this morning there's actually a tiny baby one coming out from underneath it. So I'm soon to have 3 mushrooms. Sorry. That Xenia, when that went in, again it was tiny, absolutely tiny. Now that can obviously spread, and that does grow apparently like a weed, and it really has. And I've made sure that's not touching the main display, but it's grown that rapidly that I'm actually thinking about transferring a lot of that into my little girl's tank, just because I just don't want it taking over my tank. I'll put it in just to see how I'd get on, see how it'd go, and it's gone really well, but I am worried it's going to take over the tank. I mean, obviously down the bottom now the tank's 10 months old, it's established and it's been stable for a long time. I'm thinking about getting some scollies, maybe some lobos, or some trackies or something for down the bottom. Might move that Duncan up a touch and get some more expensive coral in there. We'll see. That one there, that's my hammer, and I've had that. That was the very, very first coral I bought. Now I think it was 40 quid, which is quite expensive for a first coral, considering you don't know how you're going to get on. But I just really liked it in the shop, so I thought, well, you know what, it's 40 quid, but let's see how I go. If it fails, I know not to do it again and just get smaller ones, but let's see. And when I bought that, I think it had got about 7 heads on it, and it's actually got about 17 heads on it now. That is just constantly split and grown rapidly. That's done really well. Apart from, if you look underneath, you see those 2 dead heads. I say dead heads, there's actually new heads growing on them now, but basically at the 6 month marker for this tank, everyone was saying, well, you need to clean all your wave makers at the 6 month mark, clean all your pumps and things like that. And I thought, well, I've followed everything else properly, so yeah, I'll do that. So I took them off and I got them in white vinegar for about an hour and just give them a good scrub, and they were immaculate, absolutely immaculate. They look good, brand new. Put them back in, put them back on, turned them back on, and all was fine. Everything seemed fine. So I went out for a couple of hours to go and watch the football. Came back and it was absolute carnage in the tank. And what I hadn't thought about was that it would up the performance of the wave makers by cleaning them. And it's stupid, but I really didn't think about it. And I think I was running these on there's 8 settings on the Jabo SW8, so I think I was running it on the 6th or 7th setting. And cleaned them, put them back in, and left them on that setting. And I came back and I'd literally blasted that hammer to hell. All the heads had gone right in. I'd also got 2 torch in this tank. I bought one for about a tenner when I got the Duncan. Bought it for about a tenner. It was only one head, but it was doing really well. That had been in there a good 4 months or so, and it was starting to split as well. It was actually splitting, but again, that went. The flow had just battered it that badly that it died. And I'd also got an amazing purple torch. It had got a fluorescent green head centre, purple tentacles and polyps, and fluorescent orange tips. It was amazing. My little girl and my missus bought it me for my birthday. I think it'd been in the tank 3-4 weeks tops, if that. And yeah, that went as well. So I lost 2 torch, and I thought I'd lost the hammer as well, all because I'd cleaned the wave makers. So I tried to do the right thing, and it ended up going bad. So bit of advice on that one: if you do clean your wave makers, when you turn them back on, ramp them down, because just don't make the same mistake I did and kill all your corals off. In the middle there, I've got a purple stylo. That's doing great, and I love that thing. That's doing really, really well. Polyps are always out, and yeah, and that was basically to replace a purple stylo I'd had before, which is another story actually. I've got a purple stylo and 2 green hystrix in this tank, and down the bottom I'd also got 2 nice acans, and everything was doing great. Look, it looked as good as the tank does now. It was doing great, the tank was. And I went on holiday, my neighbour looked after the tank, and she called me while I was away and said, John, that something's not looking too good in the tank, it's looking a bit ropey. And I just presumed it was because I was away, not keeping up with the maintenance and stuff, and I'd come back and I'd look after it and be alright. So anyway, I came back and it really was a mess. All the acan heads had closed up, the polyps on the purple stylo just weren't coming out, they'd gone right into the skeleton. Green hystrix was the same. So I thought, Christ, what's going on? So I did a big water change, did a big maintenance clean, thinking, right, give it a few days, it